I am unashamed. What about you?
Welcome back to Unashamed. We are glad to be here. We got a very special guest, my lovely bride this year. Lisa, your first post-surgical Unashamed appearance.
That's right.
Yeah, and you're looking lovely.
Well, thank you, baby.
Yeah, she looks great. Everybody marvels at how amazing you look after going through something. I have to admit, whenever I walked in that night and it had been 12 hours, I was expecting like something out of a Frankenstein movie. I mean, you just expect the worst. And she looked great. I mean, I was like, she just went through 12 hours of surgery and she looks amazing. So,
well, your attitude and spirit has been amazing to watch. So,
yeah.
Well, thank you. That's a God thing too.
Yeah. So,
it's just been a journey of God sightings is what it's been.
Well, and we'll talk about that more later. But anyway, welcome. Glad you're on. So there's been a lot happen. So we got a lot of updates to talk about, including what's been going on with Lisa. Yesterday, Jace preached, and it was funny. So, it was funny because, so we got in last night, and so one of our friends, Hawk, was there, and I was like, well, how'd Jace do? And he said, oh, it was amazing. It was so good. And he kind of started telling me about some of what you talked about. And then Anna comes in, and Anna is kind of, she's got a lot, the Robertson is strong in that one. And so she's a lot like us. She's not just doling out the compliments for no reason. And she was like, oh, it was really good. So then when I got Anna saying it was good, I was like, well, it must have been good. So then we get in here this morning, and Jay starts telling us about your, because you've been sick all week. So tell the audience.
It's been one of the strangest weeks of my life. And I actually had another person confirm yesterday, because we had a lot of visitors, because we did our faith, family, and freedom.
And we got that. We got to talk about.
That's right. We'll talk about. So it's hard to describe, because it's kind of like you have a week in your life that you've never experienced before, with people all over the country staying at your house. Because all these people that were involved in all the things that we did this week were staying at my house.
Yeah.
And so it just turned into something that's hard to describe, but it made me really feel inspired about the kingdom moving forward.
Yeah.
So to the sermon, just in the last 2 weeks, I've spoken a lot. There's been a lot happening.
Well, and we actually talked about on the podcast, the last couple of podcasts, you kind of were unveiling where you were ultimately going to go. Because we're preaching through Hebrews, and we've already done Hebrews on the podcast. So all that material and everything we talked about on the podcast has kind of funneled into our thinking for sermons. So the audience kind of knows where you were headed. So we're
we didn't go there. None of that happened. None of the above happened. What happened was, when I spoke at the camp for Willie does an event, and it's called the Sportsman's Camp.
Yep.
And I'm a sportsman. I'm an outdoors person. And it's not a...
every year at Camp Shioka.
Yeah, it's like hunters and fishermen come. They shoot bows, and they have fun. And it's mostly young people, college-age type people. But there's a spiritual theme to that, because we're outdoors people, but the outdoors has led us to God. I mean, in all my speeches, when I go around the country and go to outdoor events, I talk about Genesis 9, the birthplace of hunting, the rise, kill, and eat.
Yeah, Dad's famous Acts 10.
We talk about, because our history is rooted in the outdoors, but the greater foundation is when Phil came to Christ in an effort to make a break from his past. He moved down here where he's at. And he's like, I'm going to follow God, and I'm going to be an outdoorsman, make duck calls. And so that story's interesting to these people. So obviously all of our family speak at that event. So we did that. Then we had our podcast in there. Well, somewhere in there, I get sick, and
we actually had to delay podcast recording a couple of days because
we delayed it. There was a couple of days where I could not function. I was down sick with a sinus infection, And we had our little one that we keep from time to time, and we had him for 3 or 4 days. And Mia was organizing the worship for our Faith Family Freedom. Well, she had a crew of people, college-age people, extremely talented from all over the country, that they go in the same circles and camps and different various things of life. Well, they all came to our house during this, and we had a couple who are great friends, the Van Normans from, I think they're from Bryan, Texas.
Yeah, they're Texas.
Casey is a counselor, and she's written many books. And they have, like, what they do is they have a center for kind of well-being center, body, soul, and spirit. But these people, they love Jesus. And so they came to help us with the event. And so then you had asked me to preach in there,
yep,
which Missy said I should have declined. And I was like, what, are you crazy? But she knew way more than I could perceive here, because I think she realized this event is going to be very demanding for you. And if you throw that in there, well, then I got sick, and she turned out to be right. Because what happened was, so I do the lesson one night with all this chaos going on in my house, in a good way, good chaos. Because these people that had assembled, they have friends from other parts of the country. And we had every room full, every bed full, the floor was full with our friends, with Mia's friends. And these people, every few hours, would break out into a worship, just organic worship. And this happened over. And I've been a part of this all week. And these are some of the most talented people on the planet. I mean, I was shocked. I thought.
So on one side, it's super challenging, but then on the other side, it's super blessed, because you're like,
that's what I'm saying. I didn't feel
an odd
that,
week.
This is going on, and then we're having all these intimate conversations with these college people about what we can do for the globe, in the name of Jesus,
for the kingdom.
I'm as excited as I've ever been. It was like a convention in a person's house that nobody organized. So I'm sitting on this couch, and I do the
By the way, the best conventions are probably the ones that are not organized. It's like that.
I think God organized
it. Was a happening of the Almighty.
I really do. Because, I mean, I've given my number to all these people. I was like, there's something. God called a meeting and didn't tell anybody, and we all gathered up. And it was a strange crew that gathered.
And he needed you stressed out to the max to be able to fully appreciate it.
And just for fun, we have a 2-year-old toddler running through the whole thing. The whole time. And so, because the college age crowd, they got started usually about 10, 11 o'clock at night. The people on our side and our friends, we're looking around thinking, I think it's time to go to bed. But somewhere that got blurred and time got lost. Because, you know, when they're singing worship music at 1:30 in the morning, ain't nobody sleeping. But that's just the way it.
But that's not something you go break up.
You don't break it up, you know. Missy's like wiping tears from her eyes.
Yeah.
You know, this is my daughter out here as part of this. So that was kind of the week. I mean, I'm trying to describe what happened.
That's pretty good.
So I get on the couch one of those days when I was sick for about 14 hours straight, and I basically did 3 different lessons of what I was going to preach, because I thought we're in Hebrews. I need to try to tie this into all the visitors that are going to be here. But somewhere that night, I woke up in the middle of the night and I thought, this is a bad idea, because the Hebrews section we're in is Hebrews chapter 9. And although lovely, and I have lots of inspiring nuggets to share to somebody at some point in life that I've studied and put on paper, I just thought it was a little too deep if you didn't have any background to the Bible to try to launch off from.
Or the study, because we had so many visitors.
So the next morning, I went with Sermon 4, which was way more practical and had nothing to do with Hebrews, although it had everything to do with Hebrews, because Hebrews is not like any other book in the Bible. It's going to start and end with Jesus. But I just thought I need a more practical way to do this. So I kind of had a reset the morning of, but I felt the worst on Sunday morning when I woke up. I just didn't feel good.
Yep.
So I drank some cough medicine, and I don't know why I did that, because I thought I don't want to be coughing up there. And I get to the church building, and I just didn't feel good. And I thought, am I nervous? I mean, I'm speaking so much in the last couple of weeks. I thought, well, I haven't been nervous, but I didn't feel good. So the worship starts. The crowd is, you could not stick another person in there.
That's what I heard.
I was like, all the visitors are here. And then about 5 minutes before I'm supposed to get up, 5 to 10, it just something hit me. And it was that moment of, I'm fixing to throw up. And so I leave. I exit the building, go find the bathroom, and I gagged and coughed. And it was mainly, we had an interesting conversation. I think I called it phlegm.
Dad called it phlegm.
I saw you leaving.
That's what
What did you think, Dad? Did you think he was running out on the sermon?
I think it was a glimpse, the entire thing. You just step back, big picture. As a prisoner of the Lord, this is Apostle Paul. I urge you to live a life worthy of the calling you've received.
Ephesians 4:1.
Be completely humble and gentle.
This is what you were thinking when he left.
Be patient. I was thinking of what here. Make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace, because these people are coming from all over the
all over the globe.
all over the globe.
Yep.
There's one body, which is awesome to think about.
Yep.
There's one body, the church.
One Spirit, just as you were called, with one hope when you were called, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father and all, who is over all and in all. To me, I was just sitting there watching the whole thing unfold, and squeezed in a couple of lessons there. So it was coming from, it was almost like it was meant to be, but nobody made it that way.
So you had taught a class.
Yeah, that we need to back up.
That normally, because we do the Unashamed Bible study, but we knew from last year we were going to have a lot of extra people, and your little place you have only holds about 100. So they moved you into the big room.
Yep.
And I heard it was about 350 people that were there for your class.
It was a lot.
A lot of people. And that was
those people were visiting because they were coming, most of them.
Right.
Because I met them all later.
Yeah, exactly.
At the event. Yesterday, this was yesterday, so that's why, bear with us. It was a long day. It was one of the longest days of my life. So, Phil, when I walked in, though, and you got to remember, I'm not feeling good. I've done all these lessons. I haven't had any sleep. The 2 nights before, the most I had was like 3 or 4 hours.
You weren't jumping up and down with a frenzy.
Oh, no.
It was slow as she goes.
Yeah, when I got up there, Phil's describing my demeanor, which was unlike most times that I speak.
Usually you're a little bit.
I literally was just had nothing. I was completely exhausted and I felt sick. But when I walked in, Phil was baptizing people. And there were so many baptisms, it delayed the service 15 minutes.
Yep.
We didn't.
Which, man, isn't that what you want? Mm-hmm. We're going to delay our service today because so many people are, making this eternal commitment.
There's a whole lot of people, the way I was watching it, that were operating as one.
Yes. It was very much a New Testament, Ephesians 4 moment. Right. So what? So you finally got it out.
So when I get up, I looked down at my notes and I couldn't. I was a little dizzy, and I couldn't see them. And I opened my Bible and I couldn't see it. And I thought, I was thinking that's weird. And so I just stepped out from the podium because I had a wireless mic on. Not sure what I said, but
so you just did a one take all the way through.
About 15 minutes into it, and I think it was maybe
Holy Spirit
prayer of people. At about 15 minutes into it, I kind of got my surroundings. I got my feet up under me a little bit, and then I walked back. And there was one text I read in 1 Corinthians 15, and then I went another one. And a little bit of what I had prepared, very little. I mean, it was not a long, I went maybe
By the way,
20 minutes.
with all the speaking, with a couple of speaking points, but it was one you just said. That's what was being put before them.
Right.
In 1 Corinthians 15. Yeah, I went to 1 Corinthians 15, where Paul reminded them of the gospel.
Yeah.
And I went into the resurrection. Because that's what I said. When I said, I'm not sure what I said. I basically just shared Jesus, from the heart.
Yeah.
I reminded them of the gospel.
Yeah.
I'm not real sure what I said, but that's what I did. And kind of wrapped around family, with our family and us being the family of God and God desiring a forever family, which is why he sent Jesus. That was the pulse of it.
Gist of it.
I think it was spiritual warfare. I think it was the
I
evil
don't
one.
disagree.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Well,
I felt like I was being attacked because, look,
Yep.
you say, well, you got to pray about it and give it to God. Well, I did that sitting on the steps before I walked up there because I said, I literally am not sure that I can walk up there and speak. So I was having that prayer, which was what was so interesting is Missy had sung a song while I was praying. She was singing, but I could hear her.
By the way, she did an awesome job of singing.
Yeah.
She did. Well, she came out in this little hallway looking for me, and I was sitting on the steps without my hat on, and she's like, I mean, it just terrified her. She's like, babe, are you gonna make it? And I was like, I'm not real sure. I said, but when I heard you singing, I was like, I feel so bad. I said, when I heard you singing, I immediately became emotional because I was like, I mean, I'm just trying to, I said, I'm sick. I don't feel good. I was like, but when I heard you, it moved me.
Yeah.
And I thought, I can't go in there. I'm going to be a basket case. So I was a little emotional in my speech.
Yeah.
But it was more just because of the state of my being. I just didn't feel good at all. And but I think sometimes in life, God does. He does it. So
well, when we get back to eventually back to Ephesians 1, because we got some guests coming on later, next couple of podcasts. But we're in this section about intercessory prayer, where Paul begins his first prayer of many in the book of Ephesians. But I want to ask you, babe, before we bring our guest on later, that was what we've experienced. Kind of what Jason's talking about. His was a microcosm of a week. I would say ours is probably over a couple of month period.
Yeah.
But we experienced it, right? I mean, like the only thing we can, describe is that it had to have been prayers that went up.
Yeah, I totally believe that because, I mean, I was supposed to be down, not being able to do anything for 6 weeks. Thursday will be 6 weeks.
Oh, my.
And, I mean...
Yeah, that's what we had prepared for, like nothing. Like she was going to be basically bedfast for a big chunk of that.
Yeah.
But that's not what happened.
And that's not at all what happened. So, I mean, I just believe that I had so many people going to the Father for me and just asking, for him to heal me. Yeah. And it was like a superpower of healing. Yeah. Because once I got to the house that we stayed in, so I had the surgery. I had to be in the hospital and the surgery was 10.5 hours. I had to be in the hospital for 2 days. Then I had to be in New Orleans for a week after that. And so I go to the house, and they're saying, now, you're not going to be able to do this or this or this. And I get up and I'm like, I can do all of that. I mean, I can move. I can walk. I can do everything. And so,
praise the Lord.
I know. I was just, so anyway, so that whole week was just, and I spent so much time in my mind just, God, I just can't believe you're doing this. I mean, I'm amazed. I'm amazed at what you're doing in my body, because I mean, like, I was already healing, and And that just doesn't happen, you know?
And you were expecting not to, because it was your stomach too. So you were expecting to not be able to get up and function, and you were doing great.
And it was amazing.
I shifted gears because I thought my whole thing was going to be you do everything, and then all of a sudden my role is make sure she doesn't do too much. Yeah. I mean, I shifted, the mindset because of what was happening. But we were both like prayerfully thanking God. And I just want to thank Unashamed Nation. You guys, the notes we got from you guys, the prayers, all the gifts, the gifts you sent, every bit of it made a huge difference for us.
No doubt.
It did.
What's a weird...
What struck me is, look like I'm going to be the cook.
Yeah, because, by the way, Dad's been dealing with Mom down at the same time at this point.
Yeah,
I just looked around and said...
Well, I
didn't.
You're the last man standing.
I'm the cook.
I didn't see Kay yesterday, so I was wondering.
No one had to come over and give me an update on it. I just looked around. And
we just told you from time to time, just keep cooking, Dad.
I'm cooking to this day.
Yeah,
yeah. We talked to her this morning, Jay. She didn't feel great yesterday either. So, and she had a new little wound she was dealing with. So she was down.
Well, an intersecting thing, from this, because it's crazy how you share these stories about, we're trying to get Jesus to the world. God uses spirit-filled people while we're suffering. I mean, while we're living on this earth and battling all this. So when I pulled in the parking lot yesterday, we're backing up now. Before I was, not feeling good. Well, when I got out, a couple I parked beside, got out right beside me, and they both had tears in their eyes, and I thought I knew them, but I wasn't sure. And I said, "Are y'all all right?" I mean, because it was kind of an unusual sight to pull in a church parking lot before it started, and they've got tears in their eyes, and we've just parked.
Yeah.
And he introduced himself. He said, "I've met you before." You probably don't remember, but he's friends of yours. And he said, my wife got diagnosed with cancer.
His name is Al.
Yeah, his name is Al. He said, "My wife just got diagnosed with cancer." Well, as bad as I felt and in my own little world, I'm looking, and he just said that. And, they showed up. That's why they got out of the car crying. She just got diagnosed with cancer.
Yep.
And so we talked about it on the way in. That's what we were talking about.
I'm so glad you met him.
And it gave me the right perspective. I was like, I got a sinus infection. I'm worried about being able to get up and speak.
She's on her way to MD Anderson, yeah.
So what's interesting about this, though, now I will have to say, I think I had the right attitude and all, but I was physically, there was nothing. I mean, I barely got up on that stage, and even though I think I had the right attitude. But when it was over, when I offered the invitation song, well, they were the first people that came out the aisle. And they didn't go to anybody. She just came down and just collapsed in a way of like, I'm giving this to you.
Everything to God.
And so I just, I went to him. It's like, because I went back to that first conversation we had. I was like, this day started with me meeting you in the parking lot. And I just shared, or God shared through me. 'Cause I literally was just a spectator myself. And, we just held hands and prayed and got teared up about it, and hugged. And I thought, what a God arranged meeting where I had nothing to offer them, but we just were there and we shared in that. And I thought, this is what the kingdom is.
Well, you had hope. That's what she needed. And you knew that there was hope, because with Christ, there's always hope.
And the first time I met Al, he was, remember a couple of years ago, they had that shooting at Reelfoot Lake and a duck hunter. Remember someone was killed in the duck blind? He knew some of the people involved in that. And that was when he and I first started talking, and he was a podcast listener. So sometimes out of suffering and tragedy, which is kind of our point here, I guess, is when we see Christ the most, and in the greatest moments. All right. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, we got a very special guest that I see is here. And it's interesting because we've already had her husband on before. So now we're going to have his better half on. And her organization was here yesterday at the event, so we'll talk about that when we have her on. So let's take a break. welcome back to Unashamed. We have a special guest, Sarah Gabel Seifert. And Sarah Gabel, I thought your name, Gabel, was your maiden name, but it's your full name because you're a Southern girl, right? Sarah Gabel.
That's correct. Sarah Gabel. I'm originally from Alabama, and I learned when I moved to California that double names are not common in West Coast areas. People looked at me like I had two heads when I introduced myself. But yes, my full name's Sarah Gabel, and I'm really grateful to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. And
but they are memorable.
Yes.
And that's
yes, they are.
I love them.
So for the really sharp, really cracked people listening to Unashamed, and there'll be some out there, you will remember that Sarah Gabel's name has come up before on Unashamed because her husband, Michael, was on the podcast, and maybe a year ago, or I don't know.
Probably 6 months ago, maybe.
And you know what's funny, Sarah Gabel, is that Lisa was on the podcast Michael was on. So, and she's only on every so often, so it's kind of.
What was he on for?
So he has an organization. What's it called, Sarah Gabel?
It's called Public Square.
Public Square, and remember, it's kind of I would call it the parallel economy idea that he has a lot of right-leaning Christian, obviously, organizations and companies on board in the public square that you can do business with.
Oh, okay.
And so you don't necessarily have to go and support these people that are anti-God, anti-U.S.
It's a Christian form of Amazon.
Exactly. And so, and he explained that, which is amazing, the growth and everything, Sarah Gabel, he talked about. And he mentioned there was this diaper company called EveryLife that his wife had co-founded, and here you are today.
Here I am. That's right. I'm grateful to be here, and I'm glad Michael had the opportunity to share about Public Square because it's so important for people to realize that there are solutions, there are alternatives to being able to shop in alignment with your pro-life, pro-family, pro-freedom values. And at Public Square, we have 80,000 plus businesses that are all that. And I think small businesses are important. They're the backbone of America. And so for people to be able, consumers, to get on Public Square and to support those small businesses that make our country so special, I think that's really important today. And EveryLife was birthed out of Public Square. So Public Square is our parent company. We're a wholly owned subsidiary to Public Square, and EveryLife, which I'm sure we'll talk about, is the first and only pro-life diaper company on the market today. And we're the fastest growing diaper company America has ever seen. And so we're really grateful to be available to parents that really do care about shopping their pro-life values.
Well, and it's funny because we talked about this, I think, before. You would think that in the diaper business, pro-life would be very important, just from a strictly a business, perspective, not to mention a moral one, but they're not, right, Sarah Gabel? I mean, all the other big companies are pro-abortion.
Yeah, that's correct. And it's pretty wild, to your point, that diaper companies that are providing products for babies are not supportive of their own lives. It's not a good business model. And we're grateful to be a solution that actually is about celebrating and protecting every miraculous life and providing premium products at the same time. It's the best diaper I've ever put on my baby. They're clean, they're high performing, they're supremely soft, they get the job done. And it's crazy to think that Huggies matches employee contributions to Planned Parenthood, Pampers. They're expanding medical coverage to include travel to, get abortions after Roe v. Wade was overturned. Honest Company believes abortion access is actually necessary to love living cautiously. And they've pledged to continue providing abortion care for employees. Coterie, which is a big diaper brand, they posted on social media that they feel lost without abortion. Hello Bello, for example, they vowed to cover costs to provide paid time off for employees choosing to get abortions. I mean, the list goes on. And I think it's important for us to let that sink in as parents and realize that we have to be supporting companies that stand for our values, especially God's most precious children. So we're grateful to be the solution.
No, that's fantastic. And the reason that we had you on today is that Chrissy is here. Chrissy is the VP of Marketing.
She's in our studio.
She's in our studio. And she was at the event yesterday. It was out at Logtown Estate, and there were several different groups that were there. And I know, Jase, you had a lot going on, but just describe a little bit of kind of what Missy's idea, because I know she had Brave Books was there. doing some of their
Well,
stuff. These guys were there.
You're asking me to comment on something that I'm.
You don't have to list them because I know that'll never happen.
Well, because when Chrissy came in, I was like, "Did we meet? Did we see each other?" And it was an awkward moment. She was like, "Yes," and I was like, "Oh yeah," because I realized. But she realized. I mean, we have this event, but there's a lot of things going on. So the part that I was involved in was, and Phil also, who did a fantastic job. We have a gospel on the porch, which is basically my back porch, and every hour a different speaker just shares Jesus. And Phil was at 6 o'clock. I was at like 7 o'clock, and so that's going on, and people are responding. But out in the field area, which I never ventured, because you don't want to be a distraction to what everybody else is doing, because people want pictures and all, which is great. We have a time for all that. So there's a lot. It's like cities within a state of the event that goes on, that culminates with worship, a presentation, fireworks, and
then as I recall from last year, Missy's idea behind this event, obviously a lot of Unashamed Nation is who comes every year, but the idea is right around the 4th of July, we're celebrating our country, we're celebrating our freedom, we're celebrating what the founders had in mind with this whole experiment of a God-ordained country beginning with freedom, was that we would have some discussion about that, but a lot of discussion about God and the Bible. But also this year, the growth is that we would also expose a lot of those folks to groups like EveryLife and Brave Books and all these people that all across America are saying, you know what, we're tired of like sending our money and support to people who don't love America and don't love God. And so that's part of, was her vision, I think, for this whole idea, and it's grown beyond that.
Yeah, what I wanted to say, so Sarah Gay, before you got on, what we talked about before is I was describing the week that led up to the event, which involved my daughter and all her college-age friends who are super talented all across the world. They led our worship last night for about 30, 35 minutes. And even the crowd, I mean, this group could sing the songbook. And so we close with God Bless America. And was that not impressive? Off the charts. And so
Chrissy gave it a double thumbs up over there.
But what I was going to say is, because since I've been in another world here the past few days, I didn't even realize we were doing this today till we are. But in the middle of all this, we have a 2.5-year-old that, and we've shared many times on various podcasts, not in great detail because for a variety of reasons.
Privacy.
But we had him for 3 or 4 days this past week in this, and because his mom had surgery, and so we're helping her and this little one, and that we function as godparents, and we've talked about. I called him the little one, and so there was so much going on, and it's like here he is, which he expects our full attention because usually when he's there, we give it, but we were distracted. So, and like a 2.5-year-old, it put us to the test. But we were also juggling him with each other and responsibilities. So he walked by me, and I was like, babe, diaper change, and he was being a little fussy but I just smelt it. And, but she never responded. So she came back, and then I thought, well, why am I hollering at her? I mean, I said, let's go, buddy. And I will say, since we've had him in our life, I've changed more diapers
than you ever did for your own kids, right?
Exactly. And I've grown in that area. But I will say this, and so I actually use your diapers, which is fascinating.
Well, great. Thanks for being a customer.
Yeah.
We're customers. And so, but when I was expecting, because it had been a while since he had been there and I changed the diaper, and somewhere in the initial takeoff, I looked down on my thumb, because he's moving, squirming. He's 2.5 years old, And I realized that my thumb has entered the arena. of what I.
Oh no.
And
Oh
I'm
no,
not.
that's when you need EveryLife wipes. Did you have those close
Look
by?
at there.
Trust me.
Sarah Gabel's like, we got a product for
Trust
that.
me, it was I've already said that I wasn't feeling good already, and I have a gag reflex that which was triggered immediately. Well, it scared him when I was doing that, and I was just ripping everything apart.
As it was going forward. Was you a better man than me?
No, I was thinking he needed you because you can't smell. I mean, you would have been the perfect diaper changer, Dad. You've lost your sense of smell.
That's my husband too. He doesn't have a sense of smell because he lost it in a skateboarding accident. So
really
early on. So it wasn't a COVID issue. It was before COVID, before losing your sense of smell was a thing. But yeah, he can't smell, so changing diapers for him is the best job. You know, Dad's changed diapers too. So what happened? Did you get sick? Did you hold it in?
No, I gagged a couple times. I found your wipes, and
Nice.
I was just because I gave him a distraction, or it was some toy, because he was fighting me a little bit, just because I think he was portraying, hey, dude, you don't know what you're doing here.
Mm-hmm.
And let's get to it. So I gave him a distraction. It was more just, I got to get that off my hand, and then of course I get the diaper, and I got it. It was just, that's not my, I'm not experienced, so it was difficult. So I pulled it off, and then I came down, and I had him in my arms, and Missy's like, all right, here, give him to me. I'll go change the diaper. And I was like, already taken care of. And so that was a really good moment for me.
Good job.
Couple of
You
points.
did your job.
She looked at me, and she's like, good job, babe. And look, I've learned I didn't go into the details. Just because I didn't want to say, oh, you should have seen it. So there I was. The poop got on my thumb. I gagged. Because to me, that was the interesting part of the story. But what I wanted to share with you.
I never thought of that being interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
guess maybe it is.
But I'll tell you this. Between him, he understands the English language. I'm not sure he understands what I was telling him in this moment. But I really, I was telling him on that table because I was trying not to throw up. So I was like, dude, if you don't believe I'm with you for life, this is the moment. Right? I was telling him that as I was doing it. I was like, I love you, dude. Or I would not be doing that, And he was kind of grinning. I'm not sure he was following me. But I'm being serious, that's the way I feel about him. We felt like he was a gift from God that came into our lives. And we have the same vision about this with him being in our life as you do with making these diapers. I'm like, we go all over the world and talk about we're made in the image of God and babies are precious. And, one day we have an opportunity to put our actions where our mouth has been speaking, and we did it. Mm-hmm. And it's been extremely difficult. There's a reason 50-year-olds aren't having, newborns in their life. It has been really difficult, but it's made me appreciate life even more than I could ever imagine. And so when you started talking about that, I just thought there's so many jokes I could say about these diaper companies who are not, it's like, well, this is your audience. What are you, crazy? But it's such a serious thing. I can't even make those jokes because I'm like, deep down, life is so precious that we have to stand up.
So, Sarah Gabel, I want you to speak to that because we were so impressed with what you guys did. And I realized it wasn't just Michael because it was you and Michael and the other people that are involved that, as Jase just said, looked at this landscape and said, you know what, we want to do something. We're tired of just complaining about it. Let's do something. So that's where Public Square came from. Now the same thing with EveryLife. So talk a little bit about that. I mean, what that was like to just start this new business, kind of what the response has been to and all of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So as you mentioned, Public Square was birthed out of our own personal frustrations as a family. We realized that we didn't really have a great system and platform to be able to know with confidence that we could spend our money in alignment with our values. And Public Square has been wildly successful, and that's been an incredible endeavor to go on as a family. And then we got pregnant with our first child, and it became very personal to us when we started to look at baby brands that we could confidently shop at. And we learned through research, as well as our Public Square app, that parents were searching for diapers and wipes, and there was no pro-life option. And so as I am preparing for my own child, I'm getting very excited. I'm looking forward to getting the diapers and the wipes and all the things that you want in your registry. And the fact that I could not support with my money a diaper brand, it was really upsetting. And I think a lot of times it's out of your pain points that actually burst the very thing that you're meant to do, that God's calling you into. And so we said yes. We said yes to starting the first and only pro-life diaper company in July of last year. And it's been an honor and a gift to lead this company because we are so unapologetically for life. We believe that every child is a gift from God, deserving of love, protection, and celebration from the moment of conception. And I have such a heart for the unborn. I've actually had the opportunity to even work at a pregnancy resource center and meet with some of these girls who are in the middle of trying to decide if they're going to keep their baby or not, and watching God work in their hearts and them choosing life because they start to learn the reality of the beauty that God's doing inside of them. It was an honor and a gift. So now to be able to come on this side and lead a company that's very outwardly taking a stance to celebrate every miraculous life and celebrate parenthood, and at the same time put our money where our mouth is, we have already been able to donate over 1.3 million diapers to pregnancy resource centers and pro-life organizations that are helping moms choose life. And we know that a box of diapers can actually be the difference between life or death for an unborn baby. Moms and dads, they need the essentials. They need diapers. And so for us to be able to come alongside these amazing organizations on the front line saving lives with our products, what a gift. And so we're just getting started here. We're the fastest growing diaper company America's ever seen. And we're about to celebrate our 1-year anniversary on July 13th. And we're excited for the growth that's to come.
Wow. I'm starting to see why Sarah Gabel has been successful.
Yeah.
You've got a way about you that's very passionate and very contagious. In fact, at least I wanted, so I don't know if you know this, Sarah Gabel, but Lisa and I, we're all involved in the pro-life movement. Jace mentioned fostering and the kind of the way, what they've done. Adoption is also a big part in our family. And then Lisa and I are kind of on the front line with pregnancy centers because Lisa had an abortion when she was a teenager, and she's been open about that and talked about that experience. And then, we've done a lot of fundraisers for the pro-life movement. But you were so moved, Lisa, I want you to speak to this, to Sarah Gabel, about when Michael was on. Tell her and the audience what you did. And this is great because there's a lot of our audience out there who has babies, and they're like, oh, man, I'm glad to know about this product. There's a lot like Lisa and I who are now way past that, but we still want to contribute and help. And so tell them what you did, because I think it's been pretty interesting for us.
Well, so we have 6 grandchildren. Well, actually 7 now, because our oldest granddaughter just got married. So, whenever one gets married, you just, you have a new son, a new grandson.
I guess
so. Anyway,
I didn't know that was the math.
Yeah, that's the way it works.
Yeah,
they multiply.
Yeah, it does.
That's why the nest never stays empty. They keep boring holes back in.
Yeah. So anyway, I was thinking, well, what can I do? Because, I want to support the company, but I don't have anybody that needs diapers. And so what I did was I'm on the monthly subscription. I think it's monthly, or it might be every 6 weeks or something like that, where you guys send me a box of diapers and a box of wipes, and then I take those and give them to our pregnancy center in Monroe that we have here. And so I think I've done that for 4 months now, 4 different times. And so for me, and for anybody in Unashamed Nation that is watching this, that's something you can do. There are pregnancy centers throughout the U.S. What was it, 2,500 to
almost
3,000?
Yeah.
There's one close to every town. So if somebody wants to help support EveryLife and your commitment to life, then that's what they can do. They can, order them and then take them to your pregnancy center. And then I think you guys also have a way that you can order them and have them delivered to the pregnancy center, so they wouldn't even have to go out to the pregnancy center.
But one thing I
That's correct.
I like the personal touch with us, because we've been engaged and involved with our local pregnancy center. But for those of you out there listening, it's a great organization just to give support and say we're praying for you guys. And Sarah Gabel, I know you have a background in that as well, as you mentioned. So you guys are helping these guys out of the proceeds. But I love just the direct going in, and we've gotten to meet some people that work there.
So that you and Jase there will know, I remember when you were at your mother's breast.
Yep.
Do you remember changing my diaper?
No, he doesn't.
A few times when she wasn't on the premises, I actually wiped your butt.
I appreciate that,
It
Phil.
did happen.
Well, we're coming together.
You two to know that. Think about it, Al. How fast did it come? Your next birthday will be how much?
I'm 60 on the next one, Dad.
60 years old. I'm sitting here crowding 80. That seemed like that.
Yeah.
When y'all were babies. Now we got something called a podcast. We're talking serious matters.
Yes, we are.
I'm just saying. I mean, I remember y'all when you were babies, and I'm like.
And we had, by the way, Sarah Gabel, we had cloth diapers back in my day and Jase's day.
So that was an interesting story I was going to tell you.
Y'all come a long way on these diapers.
Kay could have benefited from your every diaper, because Phil used to flush the
accidentally flushed the cloth diapers down
in
the commode,
toilet,
because that's where you had to let them soak.
Boy.
Yeah,
I think as a rumor, I don't know about that.
I think it really happened.
wasn't that dumb.
All right, Sarah Gabel, our last couple of minutes, tell folks what they can do to support you.
I love it. This dynamic is fantastic. So I would say, love the story. And I agree that if you have a pregnancy resource center that's located close to you, this is a beautiful testimony of being able to get our diapers shipped right to your door and go deliver it to the pregnancy center. I worked at one, as I mentioned, and meeting the people who are donating and a part of the movement, it's so encouraging for the team, because they're working very, very hard. And to see the faces of the donors, it goes a long way. Even just going and praying for the team. And I'm sure you guys have had the experience of doing that as well. But we do have a Buy for a Cause program. So even if you don't have a baby in diapers, this is something that everybody can participate in. If you go on our website, EveryLife.com, head to the Buy for a Cause tab. And if you purchase one of those bundles, you can know with a blessed assurance that that whole month's supply of diapers and wipes will go directly to one of our partnered pregnancy resource centers that's in urgent need of diapers and wipes. So that way they can give it to a mom or a dad who's needs support, who needs resources, who needs love. And that's a great way to be a part of the movement. You can also purchase our diapers. It's auto renew. As you mentioned, it's every month, and they can get shipped right to your doorstep, which makes it very, very convenient for those busy families. And so we would love to be able to help your audience and help this community that's listening with alternatives, with options, with ways to engage, because everybody can participate in EveryLife in some form or fashion with the essentials, because again, every parent needs it. So we're really thankful, and I appreciate you guys having me here today. It's been a joy and a blessing.
Well, and we thank you, Sarah Gabel, for sending Chrissy our way to be a part of our event yesterday, and also just for what you guys are doing with Public Square. Please give Michael our best as well, and we pray great blessings on what you guys are doing. It's making a difference in our culture and in our nation, and so we want our guys and our folks out there to support that. So thank you for what you do, and thank you for being on Unashamed.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the Unashamed podcast. Help us out by rating us on iTunes, and don't miss an episode by subscribing on YouTube, and be sure to click that little bell to get notified about new episodes. And for even more content that you won't get anywhere else, subscribe to Blaze TV at blazetv.com/unashamed.